She rejected every man that came into her life. Not quietly, not politely, but brutally. Zainab Bello didn't just say no. She destroyed egos. She exposed weaknesses. She made powerful men feel small. And she enjoyed it. But one day, a man walked into her world and refused to play her game. He didn't fear her. He didn't chase her. He didn't need her. And that was her biggest mistake. Because for the first time in her life, Zainab Bello was the one who fell. And the man she fell for was never meant to stay. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Now, let's begin. In the heart of Lagos, where luxury cars filled the streets and tall glass buildings touched the sky, one name stood above the rest. Zainab Bello, daughter of Chief Bello, a billionaire businessman and powerful political figure. Everyone knew her, not just because she was beautiful, but because no man could win her. Zainab walked into the grand hall of a five-star hotel, her heels clicking softly on the marble floor. The room was filled with rich men, influencers, and powerful families. The moment she entered, all eyes turned. She didn't smile. She never did. Her assistant leaned closer and whispered, the next suitor is ready." Zainab sighed lightly. "Let him come. Let's not waste time." A young man stepped forward, dressed in an expensive suit, confident smile, gold watch shining. He cleared his throat. "Good evening, Miss Bello. My name is Femi Adebayo. I just returned from London." Zainab raised her hand. "Stop." The room went silent. She looked him up and down slowly. "You said you just came back from London?" "Yes," he replied proudly. She tilted her head. "Interesting, because your accent keeps changing." A few people in the crowd chuckled. Femi's smile faded. What do you mean?" Zainab stepped closer. "You sound British one minute, and Ajagunal the next." Now the laughter grew louder. Femi's face turned red. "I studied there for years." Zainab cut him off again. "And yet, you still need to prove it so badly." Silence. Her voice became colder. "A real man doesn't beg to be believed." Femi opened his mouth, but no words came out. His confidence was gone. Slowly, he lowered his head. I'm sorry." Zainab turned away. "You may leave." The man walked out quietly, defeated, embarrassed, broken. Whispers filled the room. She did it again. Another one. Why is she like this? Zainab sat down like nothing happened. Her best friend, Halima, leaned closer. "Zainab, don't you think you're being too hard on them?" Zainab picked up a glass of juice calmly. "They come here to impress me," she said. "They should be ready." Halima frowned. "But they are human beings too." Zainab gave a small smile. "Exactly. And humans are weak." Across the room, an older woman shook her head. "That girl will never marry." Another replied quietly. "Or maybe, no man is strong enough for her." Zainab heard them. But she didn't react. She simply crossed her legs and looked ahead. Unbothered. Untouchable. Because in her mind, no man deserved her. The stories about Zainab Bello spread across Nigeria like wildfire. On Instagram. On TikTok. On blogs. Everywhere. Short clips of men standing before her, only to leave in shame. One video went viral overnight. A famous musician stood in front of her, smiling confidently. "Zainab, I've performed all over the world," he said proudly. "I can give you a life full of excitement." Zainab leaned back in her chair. "Excitement?" She raised an eyebrow. "Yes," he said, smiling wider. "I can fly you anywhere, Dubai, Paris." She interrupted him. "Can you stay in one place?" He blinked. "What?" She leaned forward slightly. "You travel so much, you don't even have time for yourself." The room became quiet. She continued. "So tell me, how will you have time for me?" The musician hesitated. I'll make time." Zainab shook her head slowly. "You don't even believe that." Silence. She stood up. I don't want a man who is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The musician forced a laugh. But no one joined him. Moments later, he walked away. Another day. Another suitor. This one was the son of an oil tycoon. Very rich. Very confident. He sat across from Zainab at a private dinner. I don't need to talk too much, he said with a smirk. My lifestyle speaks for me. Zainab looked around the expensive restaurant. Then back at him. Your father's lifestyle, she corrected. The man's smile dropped. I built my own. Really, she cut in. She leaned closer. Then why does every story about you start with your father's name? The man went silent. Her voice dropped, sharp and direct. If you remove your father's money, who are you? The question hit him hard. Too hard. I. He couldn't answer. Zainab leaned back again. That's what I thought. The man stood up suddenly, angry. You think you're perfect? Zainab looked at him calmly. I don't think. I know. Gasps filled the room. The man laughed bitterly. You will end up alone. Zainab smiled. Better alone than with a weak man. He stormed out. Days passed. More men came. More men failed. Some tried to impress her. Some tried to dominate her. Some even begged. One night, something different happened. A young man, quiet, gentle, stood before her. I don't have much, he said honestly. But I will love you with everything I have. The room grew quiet. For a moment. Just a moment. Zainab said nothing. Then she spoke. Love. She let out a soft laugh. You think love is enough? The young man nodded slowly. Yes. I do. Zainab stood up. Walked toward him. Stopped right in front of him. Then why are your hands shaking? She asked softly. He looked down. And saw it. His hands, trembling. Fear. Nervousness. Doubt. Tears filled his eyes. I don't want to mess this up. Zainab's expression hardened. That is exactly why you already have. The young man's face broke. He turned. And walked away. Trying not to cry. The room was silent. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Halima stood up, angry now. Zainab, this is too much. Zainab turned slowly. Too much. Yes. Halima said. You didn't just reject him. You hurt him. Zainab's eyes were calm. Cold. He was already hurting, she replied. I only showed him the truth. Halima shook her head. One day, someone will show you your own truth. Zainab smiled faintly. I would like to see them try. But deep down. Very deep down. For a brief second. Something moved inside her. Something unfamiliar. Something she quickly ignored. Because Zainab Bello did not lose. She did not bend. And she certainly did not fall. But soon. The night air in the Bello mansion felt heavy. Too quiet. Too tense. Chief Bello stood by the large window in his private office, looking out at the city lights of Lagos. His hands were behind his back, his face serious. Behind him, the television played softly. Another clip. Another viral video. Another man walking away from Zainab, embarrassed. He turned it off sharply. Enough. Moments later, the door opened. Zainab walked in calmly, dressed in a simple but expensive outfit. She looked relaxed, like nothing in the world could disturb her peace. You sent for me, Daddy, she asked. Chief Bello didn't answer immediately. He walked slowly to his chair and sat down. Then he looked at her. Long. Hard. Sit. Zainab raised an eyebrow slightly but obeyed. She crossed her legs, waiting. You have become a topic, he said finally. Zainab shrugged. I've always been a topic. I am not joking, Zainab, his voice rose suddenly. She didn't flinch. He leaned forward. Do you know what people are saying? She smiled faintly. That no man can handle me. They are saying worse, he snapped. They say you are cursed. Silence. Zainab's smile faded, just a little. But she quickly recovered. People will always talk. Chief Bello shook his head slowly. This is not just talk anymore. He pointed toward the TV. You are embarrassing men publicly. Powerful men. Important families. Zainab's voice became calm, almost bored. If their pride is so fragile, that is not my problem. Her father stood up again, pacing slowly. It becomes your problem when it starts affecting this family. Zainab frowned slightly. For rejecting men? For humiliating them, he corrected. You don't just say no, you destroy them. Silence filled the room again. Chief Bello stopped walking and looked directly at her. You think this is strength? He paused. But it is not. Zainab's eyes narrowed. Then what is it? His voice dropped. It is fear. The word landed heavily. Zainab let out a small laugh. Fear? Of what? Of being seen, he replied instantly. Of being known. Of being hurt. Her expression hardened. You're wrong. Am I? He asked quietly. You push every man away before they get close. Zainab stood up now. I push away weak men. Her father shook his head again. And how will you ever know the difference, if you don't let anyone stay? She didn't answer. For the first time. She didn't have a quick response. Chief Bello sighed deeply. Then his voice became firm. Final. This ends now. Zainab looked at him. What do you mean? I am organizing something, he said. A final selection. She blinked. A what? A gathering, he continued. The best men. The strongest. The most qualified. Zainab folded her arms. And what makes this different from all the others? His eyes locked onto hers. This time, you don't get to reject everyone. Silence. Her chest tightened slightly. That's not your decision. It is, he said calmly. And here is the rule. He stepped closer. The next man you reject. He paused. You will marry the one after. Zainab's eyes widened slightly. What? You heard me. She shook her head immediately. No. I'm not doing that. You are, he replied. I refuse. His voice became cold. You don't have that luxury anymore. The tension in the room grew thick. Zainab stepped closer. You can't force me to marry someone. Chief Bello didn't blink. I don't need to force you. He leaned in slightly. I just need to remind you what you stand to lose. Her heart skipped. What is that supposed to mean? His voice dropped. Everything. Silence. The words hung in the air like a threat. Zainab stared at him, trying to read him, trying to understand how serious he was. But her father's face didn't change. This wasn't a joke. This was real. Zainab slowly turned away, her mind racing. For the first time in a long time, she felt something unfamiliar. Pressure. And deep inside, a small, quiet voice whispered, what if this time, you don't win? She pushed the thought away immediately. Zainab Bello does not lose. But something had already begun to shift. 3 days later, Nigeria was on fire. Everywhere you looked. Phones. TV screens. Billboards. Social media. One announcement. One event. One name. Zainab Bello. The Bello Bride Selection Gala. The internet exploded. She's finally choosing. No way. This one I must watch. Who will survive her this time? Hashtags trended instantly. #win Zainab. #Bello Gala. #the untouchable queen. Influencers began posting. Bloggers started gossiping. Even celebrities joined the conversation. At the Bello mansion, preparations were massive. Decorators rushed in and out. Designers brought expensive outfits. Security tightened everywhere. This wasn't just an event. It was a spectacle. Inside her room, Zainab stood in front of a large mirror. Her stylist adjusted her dress carefully. You will break the internet tonight, the stylist said excitedly. Zainab didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on her reflection. For the first time, she wasn't thinking about the men. She was thinking about the rule. The next man you reject. You will marry the one after. Her fingers tightened slightly. Halima entered the room quietly. "You're ready?" she asked softly. Zainab nodded once. Halima studied her face. "You look different." Zainab glanced at her. "How?" "Quieter," Halima said. Zainab looked away. "I'm just tired of the noise." Halima stepped closer. "Are you sure that's all?" Zainab didn't answer. Because deep down, she wasn't sure anymore. That night, the venue was breathtaking. A massive luxury event center in Lagos. Crystal chandeliers. Golden decorations. Soft music playing in the background. The most powerful people in the country were present. Politicians. Business moguls. Celebrities. Cameras flashed everywhere. Then, the lights dimmed slightly. The host stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen." His voice echoed through the hall. "Welcome to the most anticipated event in Nigeria." The crowd cheered. "Tonight, one man will win the heart of Zainab Bello." More cheers. More excitement. And as promised, he smiled. The winner gains access to the Bello Empire. The energy in the room shifted. This was no longer just about love. This was power, wealth, legacy. Then, the doors opened. Zainab stepped in. The entire hall went silent. She looked stunning. Untouchable. Unreachable. But as she walked forward slowly, there was something different. Something no one else noticed yet. A slight tension in her steps. A quiet storm behind her eyes. She took her seat. Elegant. Composed. The host smiled. Let the selection begin. One by one, the men would step forward. One by one, they would face her. And as the crowd leaned in with excitement, no one knew. Tonight would be different. Because somewhere in that hall, a man was already waiting. A man who did not come to impress her. A man who came to break her. The hall was silent. Heavy. Expectant. The first few men had already come and gone. Just like before. One tried to impress her with his business achievements. Another spoke about his connections in government. One even tried to quote poetry. But Zainab was still Zainab. She rejected them all. Calmly. Coldly. Without effort. The crowd reacted each time. Gasps. Whispers. Murmurs. She hasn't changed. Same Zainab. No man will survive this. Then the host stepped forward again. Next contestant. A tall man walked onto the stage. Confident. Well-dressed. Smiling like he had already won. He adjusted his suit and looked directly at Zainab. "Good evening, Zainab." She didn't respond. "My name is Colonel Afolayan," he continued. "CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in West Africa." Some people in the crowd nodded. Impressed. Colonel smiled wider. "I believe I am exactly the kind of man you need." Zainab finally spoke. Her voice was soft. But sharp. "Oh." She leaned back slightly. "And what kind of man is that?" Colonel chuckled. "A man who is already successful, already powerful, and doesn't need validation." The crowd murmured in approval. Zainab studied him quietly. For a few seconds. Then she stood up. The room went still. She walked toward him slowly, her heels echoing in the silence. Colonel maintained eye contact. Still confident. Zainab stopped right in front of him. Close. Very close. Then she spoke. "You said you don't need validation." "Yes," he replied. She nodded slowly. "Then why did you just spend the last 2 minutes listing your achievements?" The smile on his face froze. A few people in the crowd gasped. Colonel laughed lightly. "That's just introduction." "No," she cut in. "It's insecurity." Silence. Zainab circled him slowly, like a predator studying her prey. "You wanted everyone here to see how important you are," she continued. Colonel's jaw tightened. "But a man who truly knows his worth." She stopped in front of him again. "Doesn't need to announce it." The crowd was completely silent now. Colonel forced a smile. "You think you've figured me out that easily?" Zainab tilted her head. "I didn't figure you out. She paused. I exposed you. That was it. The confidence in his eyes cracked. Just slightly. But enough. He looked around the room. People were watching, judging, whispering. His voice dropped. You enjoy this, don't you? Zainab didn't hesitate. Yes. Gasps filled the hall. Kunal shook his head slowly. You don't want a man. He looked at her deeply. You want control. Zainab smiled faintly. And you don't have it. That was the final blow. Kunal exhaled sharply. Then he stepped back. I'm done. He turned. And walked off the stage. No applause. No noise. Just silence. Then the whispers returned. Louder this time. She destroyed him. Again. This is getting out of hand. Halima, sitting close to the stage, covered her face slightly. This is too much, she whispered. Even Chief Bello shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Zainab returned to her chair. Calm. Unshaken. As if nothing had happened. The host stepped forward again, clearly nervous now. Thank you. He cleared his throat. Next contestant. He paused. Looking at his card. Confused. Next is. He frowned. Tari. Silence. No last name. No title. No introduction. The crowd exchanged confused looks. Then. The doors opened. A man walked in. Slowly. Quietly. He wasn't dressed like the others. No expensive suit. No flashy watch. No designer shoes. Just simple, clean clothes. But the way he walked. Calm. Steady. Unbothered. It made people notice. The room grew quiet again. Zainab's eyes followed him as he approached the stage. Something about him felt different. He stepped up. Stopped. Looked at her. And said nothing. The host cleared his throat awkwardly. Please introduce yourself. The man didn't look at him. My name is Tari, he said simply. The host blinked. Full name. Tari paused. Then replied. That is enough. A few people in the crowd laughed. Where are you from? The host asked again. Tari finally glanced at him. Then said calmly. Does it matter? The laughter stopped. Something about his tone was not rude. But not respectful either. It was neutral. Zainab leaned forward slightly. Interested now. This was new. The host forced a smile. All right then. He turned to Zainab. You may begin. Silence. Zainab stood up slowly. She walked toward Tari. Studying him. He didn't move. Didn't shift. Didn't react. No nervousness. No fear. That alone was unusual. She stopped in front of him. You don't seem impressed, she said. Tari looked at her calmly. I'm not here to be impressed. A ripple went through the crowd. Zainab raised an eyebrow. Then why are you here? Tari's answer came immediately. To see if you are worth my time. The entire hall froze. Gasps. Shock. Disbelief. Halima's eyes widened. What? Even Chief Bello leaned forward. Interested. No one had ever spoken to Zainab like that. Zainab's expression changed. Just slightly. Not anger. Not yet. Something else. Curiosity. She stepped closer. You think you're different? Tari shook his head slightly. I don't think. He paused. I know. The confidence in his voice was quiet. But solid. Zainab felt it. For the first time. She wasn't the one controlling the moment. The air shifted. You're bold, she said. No, Tari replied calmly. I'm honest. The words hit differently. Zainab crossed her arms. Trying to regain control. Every man who stood here thought he was special. Tari nodded slightly. And every one of them was trying to prove something. He looked directly into her eyes. I'm not. Silence. Deep. Heavy. Zainab's heart beat once. Harder than usual. She stepped even closer now. And what exactly are you here to do? Tari didn't hesitate. Nothing. She blinked. What? I'm not here to impress you, he said. Not here to win you. He paused. I'm here to understand you. The words landed softly, but powerfully. Zainab felt something shift inside her. Something unfamiliar. She quickly masked it. You're wasting your time, she said coldly. Tari gave a small, almost invisible smile. We'll see. The crowd was completely silent now. No whispers. No laughter. Just tension. Real tension. For the first time. Zainab wasn't playing a game she understood. And deep down, she felt it. This man was dangerous. Not because of power. Not because of wealth. But because he wasn't afraid of her. And that changed everything. The hall was still. Too still. All eyes were on them. Zainab Bello. And the man who refused to bow. Zainab slowly walked around Tari, her heels tapping softly against the floor. She was studying him now. Carefully. Every other man had reacted by now. Sweat. Nervous smiles. Shifting feet. But Tari. Nothing. He stood like he belonged there. Like he wasn't standing in front of the most feared woman in the country. Zainab stopped in front of him again. You're very calm, she said. Tari nodded slightly. I don't have a reason not to be. A few people in the crowd exchanged looks. Zainab tilted her head. Everyone has a reason. Not everyone is afraid, he replied. That word again. Afraid. Zainab's eyes sharpened. You think I scare people? Tari didn't hesitate. Yes. Murmurs filled the room. Zainab let out a soft laugh. And you're not scared? Tari looked at her. Straight. Steady. No. Silence. Zainab stepped closer. So close now that the distance between them almost disappeared. Why? She asked quietly. Tari's voice was calm. Because I don't need anything from you. That answer hit differently. Zainab blinked once. Every man before him had wanted something. Approval. Attention. Validation. Marriage. But this one? Nothing. She stepped back slightly, regaining her space. Then why are you still here? She asked. Tari's lips curved slightly. Because you are interesting. The crowd reacted again. Zainab crossed her arms. Interesting? Yes, he said. You push people away before they get close. Her expression hardened. You hide behind confidence. He paused. Because you don't trust anyone enough to stay. The air changed instantly. This wasn't a game anymore. This was personal. Zainab's voice dropped. You don't know me. Tari nodded. That's true. He took a small step forward. Just one. But I can see you. Those words. They landed deep. Zainab felt it. A sharp, uncomfortable feeling in her chest. She quickly covered it. You're trying too hard, she said coldly. Tari shook his head. I'm not trying at all. Silence again. For the first time. Zainab didn't know what to say. That had never happened before. The host stepped in quickly, trying to control the moment. All right. Thank you. No. Zainab raised her hand. Stopping him. Her eyes were still locked on Tari. This isn't over. The crowd leaned forward. Zainab turned to her father. Let him stay. Chief Bello watched carefully. Then nodded once. Very well, he said. Zainab looked back at Tari. You're not leaving yet. Tari gave a small nod. I wasn't planning to. The tension in the room grew thicker. Because now. Everyone could see it. The game had changed. And for the first time. Zainab was no longer in control. Later that night. The noise of the gala faded. The lights dimmed. The crowd disappeared. The mansion was quiet again. Too quiet. Zainab stood in her private lounge, staring out at the city lights. Her reflection stared back at her through the glass. But something was different. Her mind wasn't calm. It kept replaying his words. I don't need anything from you. I can see you. She clenched her jaw slightly. Why did that bother her? A soft knock came at the door. She didn't turn. Come in. The door opened. Footsteps entered. She already knew who it was. Tari. He stopped a few steps behind her. Said nothing. The silence stretched. Then Zainab spoke. "You're very quiet." Tari replied calmly. "I speak when it matters." She turned slowly to face him. "And now? It matters." Her heart beat once. Harder than before. Zainab walked toward him. Slow. Controlled. "You've been saying a lot of things," she said. "About me." Tari nodded. "You think you understand me. I think you don't understand yourself," he replied. That was it. Zainab stepped closer suddenly. Her voice sharper now. "You don't get to walk in here and analyze me like I'm one of your problems to solve." Tari didn't move. Didn't react. "I'm not trying to solve you," he said. "Then what are you doing?" she demanded. Tari looked at her. Deeply. Waiting. Zainab frowned. "For what?" "For you to stop pretending." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Zainab let out a small, controlled laugh. "You think everything I do is fake?" Tari shook his head. "No." He stepped closer now. "I think it's a shield." She didn't move. "A shield," she repeated. "Yes." His voice softened slightly. "You don't trust people." Her eyes flashed. "I trust myself." Tari nodded. "That's the problem." The words hit hard. Zainab felt it again. That strange pressure in her chest. "You think you're strong," Tari continued. "I am strong," she said firmly. He held her gaze. "Strong people don't need to prove it all the time." Silence. Zainab looked away for a second. Just a second. Then back at him. "You're very confident," she said. "I'm not," Tari replied. "I'm just not afraid to lose." That answer shook something inside her. Because she was. She just never admitted it. Zainab took a step back. Trying to breathe. "You talk like you've already won," she said. Tari shook his head slightly. "I'm not trying to win." He paused. "And that's why you don't know how to handle me." The truth of that statement hung in the air. Zainab's voice softened. "Without her permission. You're different." Tari didn't smile. "I told you." Silence filled the room again. But this time. It felt different. Not tense. Not hostile. Just. Real. Zainab looked at him. Really looked this time. And for the first time in her life. She didn't see a man trying to impress her. She saw a man who could walk away. And that scared her. More than anything else ever had. Her voice dropped. Barely above a whisper. "What if I don't want you to walk away?" Tari didn't answer immediately. Then he said quietly. "Then don't give me a reason to." Her breath caught. That was it. That was the moment. The moment everything changed. Because right there. Zainab Bello realized something terrifying. She was no longer testing him. She was afraid of losing him. And she didn't even know why. But deep down. She could feel it. She was already falling. Morning came slowly. Too slowly. Sunlight slipped through the tall windows of the Bello mansion, lighting up the grand hall where everything had started. The guests had returned. The cameras were back. The tension was even thicker than before. Everyone was waiting. Waiting to see what had happened. Would he leave like the others? Broken. Shaken. Embarrassed. Or had something finally changed? The large doors opened. Tari walked in. Calm. Composed. Unshaken. Just like before. A wave of whispers filled the room. "He looks the same." He didn't run. "Something is different." Then. Zainab walked in behind him. And the entire hall went silent. Because this time. She wasn't the same. No smirk. No prideful smile. No cold distance. Her face was calm. But her eyes. Her eyes had changed. Halima leaned forward, whispering. "Oh my God, what did he do to her?" Chief Bello watched closely. Very closely. Zainab took her seat. Slowly. Tari remained standing. The host stepped forward, his voice slightly shaky. "Ladies and gentlemen." He swallowed. "It appears, we have a result." Silence. All eyes turned to Zainab. For the first time. She didn't rush. She looked at Tari. Long. Deep. Then she spoke. He didn't try to impress me. The crowd listened. Carefully. He didn't try to prove anything. Her voice softened slightly. He didn't need me. A pause. And that is why. She inhaled slowly. He is the only man here who is worthy. Gasps filled the hall. It was done. Zainab Bello had chosen. Chief Bello stood up, satisfied. Then it is settled, he announced. This man has won. The room erupted. Cheers. Shock. Excitement. But Tari didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He didn't move. Zainab noticed. Something wasn't right. Her heart began to beat faster. Tari, she said softly. He finally looked at her. And for the first time, there was something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Sadness. A deep, quiet sadness. The noise in the room faded. Because something had shifted. Something was wrong. Then Tari spoke. Before this goes any further. His voice was calm. But heavy. There is something you need to know. The hall slowly went silent again. Zainab's chest tightened. What is it? She asked. Tari took a breath. I didn't come here by accident. Confusion spread across the room. What do you mean? Chief Bello asked. Tari's eyes returned to Zainab. I came for you. Her heart skipped. But not in excitement. In fear. I knew who you were, he continued. I knew how you treated men. Zainab frowned. And yet, you still came, she said quietly. Tari nodded. Yes. A pause. Because years ago. His voice dropped slightly. I was one of them. The room froze. Zainab's breath caught. What? She whispered. Tari stepped closer. You don't remember, he said. But I do. His eyes darkened slightly. I stood in front of you once. Zainab's mind raced. Searching. I spoke, just like the others. Her chest tightened. And you didn't just reject me. He paused. You laughed. Silence. Complete silence. Zainab's heart dropped. I was nothing to you, Tari continued. But that moment. His voice hardened slightly. It stayed with me. Zainab took a step back. No, she whispered. I left that day broken, he said. The crowd watched. Frozen. But I changed. He looked at her deeply. I built myself. I became stronger. And I came back. A pause. To see if you would still see me the same way. Zainab's eyes filled with something unfamiliar. Regret. But I didn't expect this, Tari said softly. Didn't expect what? She asked. His voice dropped. I didn't expect to understand you. Her breath caught again. I didn't expect. He hesitated. Just slightly. To care. Silence. Heavy. Painful. Zainab stepped forward now. So, what does this mean? She asked. Tari looked at her. And this time. There was no distance. Only truth. It means I got what I came for. Her heart cracked. And now, he continued. I have to go. No. The word came out instantly. Sharp. Desperate. Zainab shook her head. No, you can't just leave. Tari's expression softened. I was never meant to stay. Her eyes widened. What does that mean? He gave a small, sad smile. It means this was always going to end like this. And just like that. Zainab understood. This wasn't just a meeting. It was a lesson. A painful one. And she was the one being tested all along. The hall felt empty. Even though it was full. No one spoke. No one moved. Because what they were witnessing was something no one expected. Zainab Bello, the untouchable woman, was breaking. No, she said again, softer this time. Her voice wasn't strong anymore. It wasn't cold. It wasn't controlled. It was human. You don't get to do this, she said, stepping closer to Tari. You don't get to come into my life, change everything, and then walk away. Tari didn't move. You did that to others, he said quietly. The words hit hard. Zainab flinched. This is different, she whispered. Tari shook his head gently. It's not. Silence. Zainab's hands trembled slightly. She didn't even notice. I'm not the same person, she said. I know, Tari replied. That made it worse. Then why are you leaving? She asked. Her voice cracked. Because this is where my part ends, he said. Zainab felt it. That finality. That distance. No, she whispered again. But this time. She didn't sound powerful. She sounded small. For the first time in her life, Zainab Bello was the one being left behind. Tari stepped back. I hope you find what you're really looking for, he said. Then, he turned and began to walk away, the same way so many men had done before. But this time, it wasn't them. It was her. Wait. Her voice echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. Tari stopped. But he didn't turn. Zainab took a step forward, her heart racing. I was wrong, she said. Silence. I was cruel. Another step. I didn't understand. Her voice broke slightly. But I do now. Tari closed his eyes briefly, as if those words meant something. But not enough. Sometimes understanding comes too late, he said. And then, he kept walking. This time, he didn't stop. He didn't look back. He didn't hesitate. And just like that, he was gone. Gone from the hall. Gone from her reach. Gone from her life. The silence that followed was louder than anything before it. Zainab stood there, frozen. Her chest tight. Her throat dry. Something inside her had cracked open. And there was no fixing it. Days passed. Then weeks. The videos stopped. The events ended. The laughter disappeared. Zainab changed. She no longer mocked men. No longer tested them. No longer played games. She moved quietly now. Spoke softly. Lived differently. Because now, she understood something she never did before. Strength wasn't about control. It wasn't about power. It wasn't about breaking others. It was about connection. And she had lost hers. One evening, she stood by her window again, looking out at the same city lights. But this time, they didn't feel the same. Her reflection stared back at her. But she barely recognized it. Then softly, almost like a memory, she heard it. His voice. You don't need someone to control. You need someone real. A single tear rolled down her cheek. And for the first time, Zainab Bello didn't try to stop it. Because now she knew. She didn't lose to Tari. She lost herself. And by the time she found it again, he was already gone. Now tell me honestly, was Zainab really the problem, or did she just meet the wrong man at the wrong time? And if you were in her position, would you let him walk away? Drop your answer in the comments, I'm reading everything. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this.